Two officers entered the courtroom with the confidence of men who'd walked this path before, smug smiles, polished badges, absolutely certain they destroyed another young man's life and gotten away with it. But when a calm, dignified woman in a gray suit took the witness stand, their world was about to collapse in ways they never imagined. Before we dive into this incredible story of justice served cold, drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. And if you love stories where bullies get their comeuppance, make sure to hit that subscribe button, you won't want to miss what happens next. The morning sun beat down on the Paso Robles courthouse as officers Mark Rutledge and Brian Colton strutted through the entrance like they owned the place. Their uniforms were crisp, their boots mirror-polished, and their attitudes? Absolutely insufferable. Judge Holbrook's presiding, Mark muttered, adjusting his belt with the swagger of someone who'd never faced real consequences. "She's been soft on us before." Brian chuckled darkly. "We'll be out by lunch." These weren't just any cops, they were predators in uniform, and today's victim was 22-year-old Javier Montes, a hard-working college student who drove for Uber to pay his bills. The kind of young man who should have been studying for midterms, not sitting in a defendant's chair facing drug possession charges that would destroy his future. But here's what made this case different: Javier was innocent, and someone very powerful was about to prove it. Javier took the stand with shaking hands, his voice cracking as he recounted that horrific March night. He'd just finished his shift at a gas station, was heading home in his spotless car, the same vehicle he cleaned religiously because he drove strangers for extra income. "They said I looked nervous," Javier testified, his mother clutching her purse behind him like it was her lifeline. "Said I had drugs. But I swear on my life, I didn't. I clean my car every 2 days because of my rideshare work." The story was sickeningly familiar, a routine traffic stop that turned into a nightmare. Officers claimed they found a baggie of drugs under his seat, drugs that somehow had zero traces of his fingerprints or DNA. But who would believe a nervous young Latino man over two decorated officers? Mark and Brian sat there smirking, probably thinking about where they'd grab lunch after this slam-dunk conviction. They'd played this game before, and the house always won. Until it didn't. The defense attorney, Lynn Tran, stood up with quiet confidence. "Your Honor, we'd like to call one more witness." Mark raised an eyebrow. "That wasn't in the pre-trial motion." "Proceed," Judge Holbrook replied. The courtroom doors opened, and in walked a woman who commanded attention without saying a word. Black, early 50s, tall and dignified, wearing a gray suit that didn't wrinkle when she moved. She walked past everyone with the kind of calm authority that made people straighten up in their seats. "This is Miss Danielle Freeman," Lynn announced. Mark scoffed under his breath. "Another civilian crying race." Brian rolled his eyes. "Watch her start talking about systemic bias." But Danielle didn't head straight to the witness stand. Instead, she turned to the bailiff and pulled something from her blazer pocket, a leather badge wallet. She handed it over without a word. The bailiff looked at it, blinked, looked again. Then Danielle turned to face the entire courtroom, her voice crystal clear. "My name is Danielle Freeman. I am the director of the Los Angeles Field Division of the Drug Enforcement Administration." The silence that followed was deafening. Every smirk in that courtroom vanished like smoke. What happened next was like watching a perfectly orchestrated takedown unfold in real time. This wasn't just about Javier. It was about a pattern of corruption that had been operating in plain sight for months. It didn't begin with Javier Montes, Danielle explained with the calm precision of someone who'd been building this case for months. It began with a series of traffic stops involving young Latino and black men. Most had no criminal records, yet illegal substances were mysteriously found in their vehicles. She opened a folder and laid out the evidence like a prosecutor presenting a death penalty case: GPS logs showing the officers' patrol cars making suspicious detours, deleted dash cam footage that was somehow recovered, and testimony from 2 former officers who'd quit rather than be part of the corruption. "We traced 11 separate incidents," she continued. Each case involved minority drivers. Each arrest was made on suspicion of drug possession. And each one, without exception, the narcotics found had no traces of the defendant's fingerprints. The courtroom was so quiet you could hear hearts beating. Mark and Brian sat frozen, their earlier confidence evaporating like morning mist. But Danielle wasn't finished. She pulled out a USB drive and handed it to the judge. "We installed audio surveillance in their patrol car," she said matter-of-factly. 8 days of recordings. "Would you like to hear what they said when they thought no one was listening?" The audio that played next was devastating. Mark's voice, "You see the guy's eyes? He was gonna piss himself before we even opened the door." Brian's laughter, "Yeah, had that twitch. You can always tell when they're hiding something, even if they ain't." Mark again, "I say we toss the sock trick. Quick plant, nothing major. Keeps them scared." More laughter. More casual discussion of destroying innocent lives. Brian couldn't take it anymore. He turned to Mark, his voice carrying across the silent courtroom, "You kept talking. I told you to always shut it off. You act like this was just me." Mark shot back. "We did this together." And just like that, they'd confessed to everything. But the audio was just the beginning. Danielle revealed surveillance footage of the officers entering an off-the-books warehouse where they stored planted evidence, unregistered weapons, and cash, all marked as training simulations, but logged nowhere in official records. They weren't just corrupt, she explained. They were running a systematic operation designed to target and destroy the lives of young men who looked like easy targets. As she spoke, federal marshals entered the courtroom. Judge Holbrook looked up from a note she'd just received. "Director Freeman, I've been informed that federal arrest warrants for officers Rutledge and Colton have been signed." The sound of handcuffs echoed through the courtroom. As the deputies led them away, Mark turned back to Danielle one last time. "You think this ends with us?" he said bitterly. Danielle just watched them go, because she already knew the answer. The charges against Javier were dismissed and his record expunged. No fanfare, no victory speeches, just a young man getting his life back and his mother finally sleeping through the night without checking the door 5 times. But the real victory was bigger than one case. Danielle's investigation triggered a federal oversight inquiry into the entire Paso Robles Police Department. Internal affairs files were subpoenaed. Good officers who'd been pressured to stay quiet finally found their voices. "Systems don't change when you catch the bad ones," Danielle later told a group of law students. "They change when the good ones stop staying quiet." Mark and Brian thought they were untouchable. They thought their badges were shields against accountability. They thought wrong. And sometimes, justice doesn't come with a gavel slam or newspaper headlines. Sometimes it comes in the form of a calm, professional woman who spent months building an airtight case because she refused to let corruption hide behind a uniform. If this story of justice served cold gave you chills, make sure to subscribe for more incredible tales of bullies getting their comeuppance. And remember, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. We love hearing from our global audience.